Welcome to Stream and Record Video with OBS, Episode 4, where we will attempt to use PowerPoint with OBS for titles and effects. I am Deeth. I'm a Digital Services Technician at Richmond Public Library.
I'm James. I'm also a Digital Services Technician at Richmond Public Library.
Cool. So we had a lot of fun setting up this episode and seeing how many things we could get to go wrong. So we're gonna step through it, and we have some really good tips for how not to make things go wrong now, because we've tried all of them.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things to remember is sometimes trial and error, and sometimes the right answer is just doing the same thing twice and seeing what happens. It's one of those rare occurrences where you can do the exact same thing twice, and the second time you actually get the results that you want.
Yeah. And to be fair, we have a little bit different setup than you're probably going to be using on average, because both James and I are at different locations, each running our own instance of OBS with a bunch of scenes and sources, and then using the OBS virtual camera to pump that out to Zoom, and then bringing those Zoom feeds in to each other's OBS for full inception. Normally, your setup should not be that complicated. And we have a bunch of other programs that we're pulling in as sources as well. So, yeah, this is kind of an extreme case.
Yeah.
All right. So the main topic today was going to be using PowerPoint with OBS. And so what we wanted to show you is, text spinning in and some animations in PowerPoint and how easy all of that is. On my computer, I don't have a licensed copy of PowerPoint, and I was not able to get LibreOffice, the free and open source version of Office that has its own PowerPoint-like program, to do any of that, although we use it for the titles. So James got PowerPoint going, and I'll let him tell you about that. I'm just going to really quickly show you in LibreOffice what you see, the blue box at the bottom where it says Stream and Record Video with OBS with the library logo and everything. That's LibreOffice, and it's actually covers the whole screen. But most of it's green, and then I've turned on, in that source, I have turned on a filter. So in OBS, if you click on a source, if you right-click on a source, you get a pop-up menu, and near the bottom is something called filters, and I've added an effect filter called chroma key, and if I turn that off, you can see the green. You can see the full background that just our videos are superimposed on. And so what chroma key does is you give it a color and a little bit of a range, like how closely that color has to match, and it will remove everything in that color. So if I was wearing a green shirt, that shirt would also disappear, and you would see the background through me. So that's the kind of thing we're doing with PowerPoint, and with all of these. The key to bringing in other programs and mixing them like this is in that chroma key filter. All right. So James, do you want to talk to us about your experiences with PowerPoint? And I'm gonna switch scenes here so that we can see.
Yeah. I'm actually pretty sure that if you have a little bit more experience with PowerPoint than what I do, then this might wind up being a little bit easier for you. But basically what I did was I set up my slide in PowerPoint. I tried to do transitions, and the transitions just weren't showing up. So for ease of this tutorial, I decided just to forgo it. If you're really interested in getting the transitions going, I'm sure if you spend some time on it, you'd get it going. But make your slide exactly as you would like it to appear, and then make sure the background is green. And any shade of green will really work, because you can tweak it with the chroma key option. But I use kind of a light lime green, and that one worked really well. So after you've got the background green and your text, and make sure to, depending upon what kind of background you're going to be putting over top of the green, the text is going to be able to see through. So I used a white text, and you'll see. So my background, as you can tell, is my old-timey tavern here that I use for the Dungeons and Dragons tutorials that we do also on YouTube, and use OBS for that as well. So I created a scene, and I used the source, and I'm going to just switch over here, and I used the source Windows Capture, and I captured the PowerPoint presentation. I actually had to create the scene, capture the PowerPoint presentation before starting the slide, and then I started the slide, went back into Windows Capture, double-clicked on it to bring up the Properties tab, and in Properties, I switched over to the running slide. So what you're going to see now is my slide.
Woohoo!
So the reason why it suddenly started working right now is because in Zoom, and to get this into Zoom, we turned on the virtual camera in OBS for Zoom.
And then in Zoom, selected that as the camera.
Correct. And then in your background and filters under virtual backgrounds, one of your options is I have a green screen, and that needs to be clicked. So if you don't click that, you're going to see this, and you'll be wondering, well, where's my slide? Which is what Deeth and I were just doing for the last 10 minutes or so.
You have to click that in Zoom.
In Zoom.
Yeah.
So then when you click, I have a green screen, now you can see this.
So if you're not doing crazy things like us, like piping OBS through Zoom into OBS and back through Zoom, you probably don't have to worry about that point. We're hoist by our own petard trying to do it this complex way.
Yeah. It'll probably, like Dee says, it'll probably be much easier for you. So then once you have that going, you have your slide. And there's my titles and credits in OBS. This is what we're talking about today: overlays or transparencies, adding titles and credits, simple animations, and using the browser.
Yeah, and I will link to a longer tutorial, which is where I got a lot of my early OBS tips from, where he does show how to use PowerPoint with OBS and makes animations look easy. Excuse me. So I'll put that in the description, a link to that.
Excellent. I'm going to stop my virtual camera.
All right, I'm going to go back to here. If you stop your virtual camera, you need to switch back over to your regular camera in Zoom.
Yep. And I'm coming back.
While we're waiting for James. So the other thing is any of your sources can be other programs, basically. Any other program. So we've used PowerPoint and LibreOffice as examples, and by giving them a green background, you can chroma key them. But you can have anything as a source, and I actually have multiple things even using the same camera. So if I take my turn my camera off, and this is a web page also using my camera, which is running a sliding blocks program, and I'll link to these also it's running really slowly for some reason. Maybe because we're trying to do too much on this computer. But yeah, it's a sliding blocks web page that just takes input from the camera and makes a sliding blocks puzzle out of it, and then scrambles it up and then solves it. And so you could run that, pipe it through OBS and the virtual camera, and then into Zoom to really confound people on your next Zoom meeting or entertain them, maybe. Turn that off. James is back.
So kind of an interesting thing, Deef, just in case anybody else runs into this as well. The reason why my camera didn't turn on right away was because OBS was using my integrated webcam, and then Zoom wasn't being allowed to use it as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So once I stopped OBS from using my integrated webcam, then Zoom was able to use my webcam. So
Right.
just in case somebody else is trying to be as complicated as we are, and that happens to you, and you can't figure out why the camera isn't working, it's probably because one of your other programs running is using your camera.
Which is weird because I kind of expected that to happen. Maybe because I'm on Mac OS. It let 2 instances of the browser and OBS all grab the camera.
Interesting.
And get but I think Windows doesn't work. Yeah. So any program that you know how to use well is a good source for OBS. So if you're good at PowerPoint, use that. If you prefer Keynote, use that. Any of them, just give it a green background and you can chroma key out and use it for titles, effects, animations, whatever. And then if you really want to get crazy, this is another web page. I'll link to both of these web pages in the description. But this is just a camera source and a web page, and then that can be piped out to streaming, recording, virtual camera, any of the things that OBS supports, including multiple at the same time. So we're both recording and using the virtual camera today, and all of these episodes. So I think that about wraps it up for episode 4. The first 3 episodes really are the key points. It's what OBS is and how to use sources and scenes are really the key to using OBS. Beyond this, there is more and more and more you can do. There are lots and lots of plugins you can add to give OBS even more features and power. We talked last week about using hotkeys to switch between scenes, but you can also have a program on your phone that switches between scenes. And there are add-ons for OBS to have much more control over the audio quality for people who are really audiophiles and want to really nail that. There are scenes for, I don't even know, all of the add-ons and things that you can get for OBS. There's a bunch of them. You can get to them on the OBS website, once you've mastered the basics, there's plenty more to explore. All right, James.
All right.
Really
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's been fun doing this series with you. This is our last episode. And by all means, click on the link in the description below to give us comments. And we love to hear what works for you, what doesn't, what we could do better next time. And thanks for coming. All right.